Hey, I'm Aaron with Seattle Piano Company, and today I'm standing with our Schimmel SP182 grand piano. It has this really beautiful Babinga finish, also referred to as African rosewood. Those two terms are kind of interchangeable. A lot of the specifics on this piano are on our website. It's 5'10" in length. It was built in 1999. All that spec stuff is on our website. So in this video, we're just going to talk about the condition of this particular piano. So we're going to go over the finish, the interior, all that stuff. Just kind of in a nutshell on this one, I do find this piano to be in excellent condition. I'm going to be a little bit overly critical about the stuff that I see on here, only so we can kind of under-promise and over-deliver type of deal. So very transparent. I'll show you everything that we've addressed, or some things that maybe are not quite perfect, but we did our best, that sort of thing. But a little bit about this piano. It was a one-owner piano. The original owner had just retired, wanted to take up piano, and it didn't really end up working out. They didn't really stick with lessons, and this just kind of became like a beautiful piece of furniture in their living room. So there were no kids around it. It didn't get beat up. It got played very little. They had the lid closed for most of the time that they had it, from what I can tell. I mean, the color on the lid is very, very even. There hasn't been any sun fading there, which is a really great sign. Other than that, yeah, I can kind of go over all the work that we did. We fully polished the whole cabinet. We went through and we polished out all the brass hardware on here. As far as like any sorts of like damage to the finish, like a lot of times there's nicks, dents, scratches, things like that, and those are mostly things that we can address here at the shop and make a lot nicer. But we had a really great base to work with on this one, and I can't remember really like feeling any damage on this one. So as you go around to like all the corners, like the corners on the legs, the corners on the case, and things like that, those are usually where you're going to see things get nicked and whatnot. I mean, every corner on this thing is pretty much perfect. I'm sure if you really were going over this thing, you know, critically, and you wanted to show flaws, you might be able to find something here and there, but that's the same stuff that you would find on a brand new piano in a showroom. So I don't want to say 10 out of 10 because it probably has some stuff somewhere, but just kind of at first glance, and then kind of going over and doing the pans that we're going to do with the camera, I really can't find anything worth mentioning on here as far as any damage. The other thing that's you need to be pretty cognizant of when you're looking at a wood grain piano, especially with a polyester finish like this, is sun fading. As I just said, that I think that the lid on this has been closed for most of its life, so the lid is perfect. I mean, there's no difference in pigment there at all. I mean, it is completely the same color. When you open it up, you don't have that line of contrast. Going around through the rest of the piano, you pretty much see the same thing. Again, being overly critical, when I walk from one side of the piano to the other, the lighting is different. I mean, it's just, it's really hard to get the exact same lighting. When I'm on the straight side, the bass side of the piano over here, and I'm looking at the finish over here, I think it might be a shade and a half lighter than the other side. I don't know if I'm like tricking myself looking at it like that, because I can't look at both sides at once. The side on the left over here at the bass side, it looks really nice with the lid. I mean, it looks very, very close in color. But again, being overly critical, I mean, I think that it might be a shade lighter. I don't know if that was from, you know, like a little bit of UV exposure throughout the years, or again, if I'm just seeing things. But yeah, I think that's the absolute worst of it. Everything else on here is pretty much perfect. All right, moving on to the interior of the piano. Looking in here, it's really beautiful. I mean, it really does look brand new. We had a really great base to work with when it came in here. It was not dirty whatsoever, but we kind of have like a standard clean and detail procedure that we do with all of our pianos, kind of regardless. Just give it a once over, make sure it's as nice as it can be. If you look in the tuning pin area here, a lot of times with used pianos, you'll see a lot of dust in between all the tuning pins. It's hard to get out with just like a standard, you know, air compressor. We got in there with like paint brushes and other detailing equipment to really get it looking as nice as possible. So this area that you're probably never going to look at does look brand new. The strings look great. We went through and gave those a really light polish just to kind of bring that gloss back to them. And then again, every piece of brass on this piano has been polished, and so all this plate hardware over here, these nose bolts and stuff, I mean, they're really glistening like they're brand new. they were maybe just slightly more dull than they're looking now. I mean, they definitely had a gloss to them still, but just even putting any effort into doing the brass polish on this, I mean, really brought out really beautiful results. So it wasn't a ton of work, and everything came out really, really nicely. So I mean, none of this stuff was super tarnished or pitted or anything like that, but a little polish went a long way on these. Lastly, just kind of condition-wise, as we're looking at the soundboard, we want to make sure that all of the soundboard planks that are fused together or glued together to comprise the soundboard, we want to make sure all those seams are complete and there's no cracks or any raised areas anywhere. And if you went through this thing as thoroughly as possible, I mean, really, there is no sign of any of that. You also want to look at the bridge here and make sure that there aren't any cracks that are coming from the metal pins in the bridge that can cause tuning instability and some other issues. These all look beautiful. There's not a crack in there. So all of these look really great. So the interior of this piano, I would say 9.5 out of 10. I don't know if I give anything a 10 ever, so 9.5 is pretty much a 10 in my book. Moving on to the action here. All of the moving parts, I'm guessing outside of the actual keyboard itself, are made by Renner. Renner is the company that all of the high-end European piano manufacturers will use. So German Steinways, Bosendorfers, Facioli, all of the really nice pianos in Europe all use the Renner stuff. So it's very, very much top of the line condition-wise. As we look at these hammers, there's very, very, very little wear to them. I can't remember, I may have touched them up just slightly as far as the surface of the hammer, and that was just for voicing, but really, there's a ton of life left in these. They saw very little play time. The key bushings are a big deal. These are nice and tight and at spec, so the keys are very firm, not in the weight to press it down, but just like the slop that you might get side to side in a worn out piano. This has none of that. Feels very nice. The condition of the knuckles is a big deal. So as we take a look at these, there's a little bit of graphite that is worn off onto the knuckle, but that's totally standard. You're going to see that on any piano. Really, what we want to make sure is there aren't any deep grooves in the knuckles, and these all look brand new. I mean, there's really no wear there either. So yeah, it's in a really great shape condition-wise, but I also did a very thorough, very meticulous regulation on everything. So the hammers and the keyboard and everything have been leveled and regulated to play at perfect factory spec. So it doesn't really get much better than that one.